So, I'm trying to decide. I think I'll merge these videos. Or maybe not. I hope you are sticking through this long citation. I really do hope you're enjoying the SKYE O'MALLEY series with me. This is book one. I'm continuing to talk about it. The first one was so long, I decided to break it in half and do two separate videos. I'm thinking about merging it. So if you're watching this after the other one, thank you so much for sticking around so long. But I think I'm going to load this up as a second one the next day. So I hope you are back with me to return to check out SKYE's continued life. And it will get very, very difficult. We've still got all these other books to go through. Like I mentioned, we got SKYE and Heart of Mine and Love Lost Found. We've got a whole bunch of books going on here, and we've got to catch up with SKYE, her life. If you think Claire Beecham Fraser had a life, you haven't met SKYE O'MALLEY. She has a very, very rough life, and she's a very, very tough woman. She's very quick thinking. She's got ideas. She comes up with solutions. She's just an amazing woman. I wish they would do a series on HBO or something, or one of those. If they can do Outlander, then they can do SKYE O'MALLEY, because SKYE O'MALLEY is much, much better than Outlander. Yeah, Outlander is really good, and Diana Dabblin is really, 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 really good. But SKYE O'MALLEY is a very fierce, protector woman. She's very fierce, very conniving. She thinks really quick. She's really good at getting solutions to her problems. And she will have many children, and she will also have many husbands. Now, as we left previously, she had gone to talk to her sister-in-law about possibly seeking a marriage for her sister-in-law, and she discovers her husband in bed with his sister having an incestuous relationship. Oh, by the way, I should mention, welcome to the D. Louise book series. I'm Christina, Kristina, and we can do this. It's nice to meet you. I'm learning my sign language for my Victoria Thompson books. And let me go back to my page here. I hope you are sticking with me with this. So she discovered that her sister-in-law and her brother were incestuous lovers, and they forced SKYE to be a part of their menage a trois, and it horrified SKYE so much that she ran from the room, and her husband ran after her, and he tripped and fell on the stairs and was paralyzed with his injury. And we're starting with chapter 7. We did the first several chapters previously. Now we're starting with chapter 7. A year passed and Dom died. His death, though sudden, was not unexpected. With the loss of his legs, he had lost the will to live. Claire O'Flaherty disappeared shortly after the visit of an English cousin, and Gilly remained at Balhenzie, a sad shadow of his former self, content to spend his days and nights in a drunken haze. The estate was well managed by Frank the bailiff. The prosperous trading empire of the O'Malleys grew more prosperous through SKYE's handling, and the MacWilliam was forced to admit that Deborah O'Malley had known exactly what he was doing when he placed his daughter in charge. How she would behave in wartime was another matter, and he had yet to call upon her for that. At 9, Michael O'Malley was more a priest than child. His calling so obvious that SKYE finally sent him to school at the monastery of St. Benedict's Preparatory to enter the priesthood at 16. He would not take his final vows until 20, by which time his two oldest half-brothers would have wed and probably produced heirs. Brian and Shane, at 7.5 and 6.5, had begun the process of learning about the sea, about ships, and about their late father's half-legal, half-illegal methods of doing business. Brian was assigned to a ship named the Western Wind, and Shane went aboard the North Star. Neither ship would ever be out when the other was also out, and occasionally the boys were at home at the same time, which gave SKYE a chance to see her half-brothers working together and to evaluate them as they grew. Each was a true O'Malley, taken to the sea as an old and respected friend. SKYE wished her father could have seen them, for he would have been proud. With the aid of Bishop O'Malley and the donation of a fine manor to the church, Niall Burke was finally given an annulment from his wife Dara O'Neill, and she happily returned to the convent, where she quickly took final vows. On his son's behalf, the McWilliams sent to Seamus O'Malley and formally requested his niece's hand in marriage. With her permission, negotiations would begin at once. Now, you know and remember from the first part that SKYE had met Niall on the day of her wedding to Dom, and Niall was going to try and have her wedding annulled since he had claimed virginal rights because he was Lord. He took SKYE's virginity, and he was going to use that to gain an annulment of her and her first husband, Dom. But her father said his word was his word, and he had Niall kidnapped out of the bridal suite and mugged and taken home. And each party was told different stories. And so 2 years later, after Dom has deceased, they are ready to start their marriage. But they sign the marriage contract and they do the initial settlements. But they cannot be married in the church until the banns have been read. So they decide, SKYE says they've got this new contract with Algiers, and they're going to be starting a new trading thing, and she wants to inspect it before she lets her ships go back and forth. She wants to see for herself what it's all about. So they start the trip to Algiers, and during the storm, they lose their flag of safetyness, and they are raided by pirates, and Niall is swept overboard and is rescued, but SKYE is taken by pirates, and because she believed that Niall was killed, because she saw some blood on his chest, that was her last view of him, she lost her memory from the traumatic experience. So she ends up in the home of KHALID El Bey, and she has lost her memory. And he is he was admired and respected by the other businessmen, for though very shrewd, he was scrupulously honest. Still, a few men really knew the man, and his origins were a mystery. Though many thought him a Moor, he was actually Spanish. He had been born Diego Ingo de Fuentes near the city of Granada, the second son of an old and noble family. He was well educated for his time and might have gone on to marry and lead the circumspect life of a 16th century Spanish nobleman. Then fate, in the guise of a beautiful Moorish girl named Noor, had intervened in the young man's life. They had been desperately in love, but Noor had been as firm in her faith, Islam, as any devout Christian was in his. Diego de Fuentes had long been betrothed. Now his sisters took malicious delight in teasing his fiancée about Noor. The fiancée, prim religious, felt in her moral duty to inform the Inquisition of the existence of Moorish maiden. On the day that Noor was burned at the stake as a head trick, Diego stood helpless on the edge of the city, his hooded face wet with tears, watching as the kindest, gentlest person he had known was burned at the stake. And then he wandered through Europe and the East until finally settling in the city of Algiers and changed his name to Khalid, the title El Bey by virtue of his journey to the holy cities of Mecca and Medina. He converted to Islam in honor of Noor's memory. And he gets to know SKYE because he bought her at a slave market, and they fall in love, and he's going to have her trained to be a courtesan, and his head courtesan is in love with him, and she wants him all for herself, and she connives with this other guy that to work to get rid of SKYE. She wants to get rid of SKYE, and while Khalid had her training SKYE to be a courtesan, and at some point Yasmin has to touch SKYE. She's the head courtesan, and SKYE absolutely freaks out 6 ways to Sunday, and obviously that's because we know as readers that that's because of her experience with Claire and Dom O'Flaherty, that they tried to molest her as incestuous. So that's what happens, and so Khalid says, no more, it'll just be me. And then Khalid brings in Osmond, and we will see him again, and we will see a couple other characters again later on. But Osmond is he reads the tarot cards, he reads the future, and he tells that the marriage won't last. He tells him where it is well, anyway, he tells him, I can't find the Osmond, I wish he sends for Osmond, and let's see, SKYE, where does he say? The stars tell me all, my lord, and they tell me some things about your love that you might be interested in knowing. She comes from a green and misty land to the north, a land peopled by strong spirits and great psychic forces. She was born beneath the sign of the ram, which, like all fire signs, is a strong and passionate one. How can you know all this, Osmond? Because, my lord, such a woman has recently appeared in your own chart. I want to marry her. I cannot stop you, my lord. You do not sound enthusiastic, Osmond. What are you not telling me? She will not remain with you, Khalid. It is not her fate. Her fate is back among her own people. So it is written in the stars. There are many men in her life, but she will always steer her own course, rule her own destiny. One man in particular stands out in her life. Their paths have crossed before and will assuredly cross again. Is this the man that she shares her soul, my friend? Not with you. Can you just not enjoy her while she's with you? Why must this be marriage? And the guy insists on marrying her. So Khalid and her marry, and the head courtesan is massively jealous, like I was saying before, and she connives that she's going to get rid of SKYE, and she makes this big, huge, elaborate plan. She's going to have a distraction, and she's going to go in and stab SKYE when she's sleeping. However, she goes in and stabs SKYE when she's sleeping, but it turns out it's not SKYE. She's killed Khalid. And so Khalid is dead. And before he dies, SKYE, he introduces SKYE to Robert Small. He's a ship captain, and SKYE, remembers that she knows mathematics in different languages and starts to help out with the business. And Caleb had given her a piece of the business. In the meantime, we catch up with Niall, who, like I said, had been thrown off the ship but rescued, and he had been very injured. So for over 2 months, he laid unconscious, and he laid in this home with Conde Francisco Colados. And Colados has a daughter named Costanza, and Costanza takes very good care of Niall. And Niall decides that he believes that Skye is deceased. He's going to marry Costanza because he needs an heir. So then again, she goes and kills uh, Yasmin kills Khalid. So Skye gathers, because there's this evil guy that wants to get possession of Skye's body. Skye contacts Robert Small, who becomes her ally, a significant ally, a very long. He's one of the consistent characters throughout the book, all the books. And he helps Skye return to London. And they go to London, and Robert creates a new identity for Skye. Robert Small created an identity for her that would satisfy curiosities. She would admit to being Irish-born, and the absence of a maiden name and past would be explained in this fashion. She had been brought as a child to a French Christian convent in Algiers by a sea captain who claimed that her parents, passengers on his ship, had died on board. Since they had paid for their passage in advance in gold, the sea captain did not know their names. The child, who seemed to be about 5 and called herself Skye, was raised by nuns in Algiers convent. When the young orphan was 16, she was seen by Senor Go de Fuentes while praying in church. He applied to the nuns for her hand, and suit was accepted. He was a wealthy merchant and respected man. When he died suddenly, the young widow could not bear to remain in Algiers. Since her late husband owned a small house in London, she decided to settle in England. Robert Small, as her late husband's partner, had taken the lady under his protection. And she gets a couple of companions through Robert Small, Dame Cicely and Daisy. She gets a new lady's maid, Daisy. And Daisy will stick with her for a very long time. We have seen him before. So they go in, and when they're in one of the little taverns or shops, whatever you want to call them, where people go to eat, in between, they change the horses and they get new food, and they rest a little bit before continuing their travels. And this is where she meets Lord Geoffrey Southwold. He's the Earl of Lynmouth. And when the Earl of Lynmouth sees him and he's hanging out with his friend de Granville, as normal young men do, they make wagers. And the two men, de Granville and Joffrey, wager that Joffrey can get Skye in his bed within 6 months. So when Skye eventually finds out about that, she's massively pissed. But they get her a house they take over the KHALID's house in London, and apparently the entire house has been stripped. The yard has been destroyed. So her first order of business is restoring the house and restoring the grounds and refurnishing the house. So she does all that, and then the Earl of Lynmouth moves in, and the Earl of Lynmouth entertained lavishly, and his parties were famous. He had recently come to London to see that his house was properly prepared for Christmas and Twelfth Night. The Queen herself would be attending several seasonal festivities, including the Twelfth Night Mass. Joffrey had frequently astounded to find that the beautiful Mistress Goya de Fuentes was the owner of the little jewel of a house at the end of the Strand, and he had watched with interest as the house was refurbished. A connoisseur, he noted her choices with approving eye as the tradesmen lugged their merchandise into her house. Now the time had come for him to make his first move to capture the lady. Aye, my lord, that'd be Captain Robert Small of Bidford in Devon. The Mermaid is his ship. Captain Brown drew in his pipe, then gently puffed out a curl of blue smoke. Robbie Small is a lucky devil, my lord. He needn't go off to sea at all, for he's a wealthy man and was born of gentry too. But the sea's a wanton bitch, and when she gets your blood, it's hard to get rid of her. And he learns about SKYE and the KHALID, the guy in Algiers, and so he sets to invite SKYE to dinner, which she does, which she goes. She decides that she likes him. So she meets ever since Elizabeth Tudor had descended the throne of England, the Earl of Plymouth had a masquerade ball on the 12th night. Not the first year, however, for Queen Mary had died on the morning of November 17th, 1558. And the 12th night had only been 7 weeks later. The court was still in mourning for her. This year would be the third time the Earl's fatigue would be held and invitations were eagerly sought. SKYE received an invitation on New Year's Day. Geoffrey Southwood came calling and planned to deliver it himself. She had not seen him since they kissed at that dinner back in November. She meets Elizabeth Tudor at the petite or whatever you call it, the party. She says, I understand your late husband was a merchant prince there. Yes, your majesty. SKYE looked up, gazing directly at the queen. You and Sir Robert are business partners. A bit unusual for a woman, is it not? As unusual as it is for a woman to be queen in her own right, majesty. But I've never believed that a young woman meant one lacked intelligence. Certainly your majesty has disproven that notion. The deep blue eyes held the grayish-black ones. Elizabeth Tudor's eyes narrowed a moment as she studied SKYE. Then she laughed. You desire a charter of me, she said. We will talk on it soon. Turning to Southwood, she said girlishly, My feet itch, my lord. Let us begin dancing. By God, said de Granville admiringly, the queen likes you. She likes damn few women, SKYE. What's this about a charter? Robbie and I have formed our own trading company, my lord, and Lord Southwood is aiding us in obtaining a royal charter. Damn the man, thought de Granville, so that's how he got her. I must think hard on this, or I may yet lose my barge. He was about to ask her to dance when Lord Southwood, having opened the ball with the queen, approached them and claimed her. Eyes sparkling, she gave him her hand, and they moved off into the figure, leaving Robert and de Granville by the door. And they talked some more. Lord Niall is also at this party, and he sees SKYE, and he knows her instantly, but he sees her a few more times, and it isn't until he sees a birthmark later on that he confirms that she's definitely his SKYE O'Malley. And by this time, Niall has been married to Costanza for 2 years. She was the sister, well, she was the lady that he had taken care of him. She has proved to be more of a nun in the bedroom. She has not produced any children, and Niall is very unhappy in his marriage. Unknown to him, the woman is whoring all over the place with the guys out in the stable, and she's whoring at this other place. She's sleeping with all these other men, but not Niall. And he will eventually find out, but not yet. So he's learning about this, but it isn't until later that he has spotted the birthmark, and he talks to Robert Small. Now, Robert Small, like I said, he's going to be a maintaining character throughout the entire series. So several years ago, began Niall, I fell in love with a young girl. She was already betrothed, and my father did not think her high-born enough for me. She was wed to another man and bore him 2 sons before being widowed. My own marriage had been a farce and was annulled by the church. My father then agreed to a marriage between the lady and myself. Not only had she proven herself a good breeder, but she was wealthy by then. We were formally betrothed, but before we could wed, it was important to the lady's family's interest that she make a sea voyage. I joined her on that sea voyage. Robert Smalls felt an eerie sense of premonition creep over him. We had almost reached our destination when we were attacked by pirates. In the last moments of the battle, one of those devils kidnapped my lady. Robert Small felt a trickle of nervous sweat roll down his back. His stomach full with a rich dinner and stout English ale began to roll. Dear Christ, what was Lord Burke after? What is you want of me, my lord? He asked abruptly. The truth, Captain. You brought to England a woman known as Senora Gel de Fuentes, the widow of your dead partner, allegedly raised in a convent in Algiers. I might have accepted that story, except the lady is identical twin of my lost betrothed. Identical. Yet when I questioned her, she seemed honestly to have no knowledge of Ireland or the O'Malley family. At the wet bedding of the Earl and Countess Lymouth, Lady Southwood's gown slipped, and I saw a tiny mole on the crest of her right breast. The possibility of 2 women who look so alike and bear the same name, I must reluctantly accept, but that 2 unrelated, coincidentally identical women should have the same mole, I do not think possible. I believe the Countess of Lymouth is the lost SKYE O'Malley, and I think you know the truth of this matter. Why will she not acknowledge me or her past? Because, my lord, she has no memory of anything prior to Algiers. The only thing she was ever able to tell us was her name. Later on, she realized she was able to speak, read, and write in several languages. She had a strong sense of values acquired somehow, but who she was and where she came from is all unknown, though I, of course, recognized her accent as Irish. The doctors explained that she suffered a shock, something so painful that her mind chose to blot everything out rather than face the terrible event, whatever it was. Tell me, Captain, was she truly married to a Spanish merchant, or is her child the result of rape? And he tells him no, that she left KHALID, and Willow is a child of love. And they later tell Joffrey of the situation. Then things start to unravel, and Costanza, Niall's wife, is busy doing a whoring around, and she actually whores around with Claire O'Flaherty, and that is Skye's former sister-in-law, the one that encouraged the incestuous relationship. So by this point, we're just going to refresh just a little bit here, because I didn't do this at the beginning. I did it at the beginning of the first video, and I would appreciate it greatly if you watch the first video. And she's always going off. We will see at this time, Skye's father is deceased. Her uncle Seamus is still around, and he will be a consistent character through the next few books. We won't see. She has more. Peggy, Bride, Evelyn, Scene. Michael is the boy, the brother that went off to the priesthood. Evelyn, Eibhlin, is a sister who went to the nunhood. She's also a midwife, and she will deliver most of Skye's children. So, and she will be a reoccurring character in the books. And then her father's second wife had Brian, Shane, Seamus, and Con, and we will see the boys throughout the series. Dom now is deceased. I think his dad is gone too, I'm not sure. And then, of course, Claire, who we have seen in this book again. I did not think that we would see her again. Niall Burke is the McWilliams heir. His father is Rory. His mom is married. And Dara O'Neill was a future wife of his, but of course that did not work out. Captain McGuire is well, we won't really, well, yeah, he's a reoccurring character too. So he was Maeve was a nurse to Niall when he was a kid, and Captain McGuire is her husband. So by this point in time, Skye has Ian, EWAN. She has Murrow, MURROUGH. She has Willow. So Ian and Murrow were Dom's sons from her first husband. Willow is the child from her second husband, the KHALID. Joffrey, she is now pregnant with Robin, or Robert as he's called, and he will be Skye and Jeffrey's son. She will at some point have a second son who will die of smallpox, and unfortunately, Joffrey will also die of smallpox when the kid dies. So once he's dead, Dudley, who is Robin's or Robert's, her sons of Joffrey's godfather, the Queen appoints him to be the guardian of Robert's accounts, and Skye is livid because she is supposed to be guardian of all her children's accounts, and the Queen insists that Dudley be in charge of the son's accounts. And the reason the Queen wants Dudley in charge of Skye's accounts, or the kids' accounts anyway, is because she is in love with Dudley, but she has proclaimed herself a virgin, and she will not sleep with anybody, and she will not sleep with Dudley, but she is in love with Dudley. So whatever Dudley wants, Dudley gets. And Dudley is famous for raping people consistently over and over again, and very, very violently raping these people. So Skye is not happy, absolutely not happy at all. And she tries desperately to get the Queen to change Robert's guardianship to Robert Small or anybody else, but the Queen is firm on that. She will not change the guardianship. So let's go further here. Robert Dudley, the foppish Earl of Leicester, hummed a merry tune as he travelled to the road down to Devon. About him his escort echoed his mood. The Earl was on a mission for Her Majesty, which lent great importance to this trip. And he, like I said, goes and he rapes Skye. He rapes her, and he tells all this stuff. So she goes to protest to the Queen. No, my lady Southwood, the Queen replied icily. Robin's fate is my decision as his Queen. Lord Dudley will remain his governor. Skye finally lost her Irish temper. Damn it, madam, don't you really know why Dudley wants charge of my son? Yes, I do. Shocked, the Countess of Weymouth looked deeply into the Queen's jet-black eyes. What she saw there made her shiver. My God, you do know. Oh, madam, how could you? How could you give me to that man? My husband and I were always your loyal servants. Is this how you reward our loyalty? The Queen looked angrily at Skye. Madam, you try my patience, but because I value you, I shall explain. Repeat what I tell you, however, and I shall deny it while you languish in the tower. I shall never marry, my dear Skye, for if I did, I should neither be a queen nor a woman in my own right. I have seen how men can overrule women. As long as England has only a queen to rule her, that shall not happen to me. My half-sister Mary never fully recovered from what my father did to her, and to her unfortunate mother Catherine of Aragon. Their lives were ruined by my father. Poor Mary, he had cosseted and spoiled her from birth. Then suddenly one day all that love was withdrawn, and she was torn from her own mother, whom she never saw again, and declared a bastard. My own mother, I am told, was under constant pressure to produce a son. When she failed, life was wantonly taken. As for me, I never knew where I stood with my father. One day I was his darling, the next day I was sent to Hatfield in disgrace. I learned, my dear Skye, I learned. Jane Seymour was, I think, fortunate to die. For all his fine mourning he did not care, for he had what he wanted, a son. Of my other three stepmothers, Anne of Cleves was wise enough to give Henry Tudor what he wanted the most, a quick divorce. Poor Cat Howard, my mother's cousin, lost her head as my mother did. I can still hear the tragic girl's frantic cries as she realized they had come to take her to the Tower. And she goes on, and she says, "You can't do this to me. I who have been your friend, your loyal servant. God, madam, you are your father's daughter. The English lion has spawned as vicious a cub as he was himself." "Careful, my dear," she warned. "You are indeed the Queen of England," Skye said ominously. "But then I am Irish. While Joffrey lived I forgot it, but no more. What a firebrand you are, my dear Skye, but we both know you are quite helpless before my loyal offers." So, the solution to this is Skye must marry. She must marry to gain a protector. So, she's gonna marry Niall. Finally, she's gonna marry Niall, but she's not happy about it to begin with. She's really not happy about it. She's massively pissed off about it. But they're gonna get married. In the meantime, she's working on expanding her shipping business, and she has decided that she's going to seek revenge against the Queen by using her ships. She's going to hit the Queen where it hurts, in the pocket, in the gold pocket. So she meets a new man in her life. Now remember, she is going to marry Niall, but she meets this guy, Adam de Marisco. And Adam de Marisco agrees to her plan to hit the Queen in her pocket. But to be a partner in this scheme, Adam claims bed rights. He wants Skye in his bed as often as possible. So Skye agrees and goes to bed with Adam. And then she begins to attack the Queen's ship. And then the Queen goes ballistic. And I'm trying to and Queen decides that it's Skye that's doing this. She cannot prove that it's Skye that's doing this, but she's determined to punish Skye, and she's sending Dudley to do it. And Skye gives birth in the Tower of London to Deirdre, and so she will have Ian, Murray, Willow, Robert, John deceased, and Deirdre. Ian is Skye and Dom, Murrow is Skye and Dom, Willow is Skye and Khalid, Robert is Skye and Joffrey, and Deirdre is Niall and Skye's child. And she is born at the end of this book. And Niall Burke looked down at his wife. "Oh, my love," he said softly, his voice trembling, "I have missed you as I've never thought it possible to miss you again. It's now 3 times you've been taking from me, Skye, But never again, Niall. Only God can part us now, I promise you. That's a promise I intend for you to keep, my love." And then he was kissing her, and the pent-up ardor exploded in a wave of fire that, had its substance, would have been ignited the house and all of London. How long ago she had stood in this very spot, letting Joffrey in her room. A lifetime ago, and surely now that was over and done with. She smiled with the memory of her angel Earl hanging on a vine, and then put that memory from her. And she has Deidre now, and she's taking care of Niall. And the book ends on that little happy note. However, which, let's see. Oh, I have the original cover too. I have two covers. I wouldn't. Sorry about the glare. There we go. This is an original, and the pages are yellow. But I think they're meant to be yellow. But is this? We will be moving on to All Sweet Tomorrows, and it's a little shorter. SKYE is 461 pages, and this, oh good God, it's almost 600 pages. All Sweet Tomorrows, and the situation for Niall is not looking too good. So please hit the like and subscribe. Let me know I'm doing a good job. Don't forget Flashback Mondays, Star Trek Fridays, and If Then Fridays. I'd appreciate all your support. Thank you.